Hey guys, how's it going? So I think you remember a while back I did a music player application, or I tried to at least, but I failed after like the third tutorial. I just never got back to it. So that is what I hope to solve this week. So in these next 4 days, I hope to upload a video every single day. And with this, at the end of the 4 days, we're actually going to have a fully functioning music player application. Now, this isn't going to be something like Spotify, but what I do think is this is going to be basically, the way I'm forming this in my mind is you're going to be building an application specifically for a band. And with this, you're going to make it exactly for them. It's going to have all their albums, all their songs, and so on. And so that's the general idea of what we're going to be building and designing during this week. And so what you can see on my screen right now is this is the basic layout of what we're going to be doing today. And I kind of got this design inspiration from this website called Dribble with 3 Bs. If you guys have never heard about it, go check it out because it's honestly amazing for finding inspiration on application designs. So if you ever feel like, I don't know how I'm going to go about this, just head to that website and you'll get an idea. It's really nice. And so this is kind of the general idea of what we're going to be going for our application. We're just not having sections and search and stuff like that, but this is what we have right now. We have our albums. When you have an album, you go through the albums, you click on them, and this is what we hope to be done with by today. Tomorrow we're going to be working on it, so when we click on a song, you can actually go to the song and have this play, pause, and go to the next song backwards and all that kind of jazz. And so yeah, we'll be working with that today and tomorrow, just designing it all out. Third day we're going to be working on Firebase, and hopefully on the last day we can actually start playing the music. All right, so let's go ahead and get started on actually building this application. So in order to do so, let's go to Xcode. Let's create a new Xcode project. This will be an application. SwiftUI is what we're going to be using because I find it the easiest and I love it so much. And so yeah, we're going to be using it. So this one's going to be my music app, I guess. Going to click next. We're going to create it, and from here we should be able to get started. So the general layout of how this is going to be done is, first off, we need some information, right? So we need an album and our song, and so we need to say struct album colon, and then this is going to be a hashable, and I'll explain why in just a minute. And then we can say var ID of this album is just going to be a UUID. We just need a random ID for things to get done. And then we need the name of the album, so that's going to be a string. And then this is a colon string because we're going to be providing the name when we actually load up an album. So colon string just allows us so that when we create an album, we actually need to feed in that information. Then we need to say var, let me see. We need the album art, right? So this is going to be the image. So colon string for our image. And then last but not least, we need the songs. So the songs is going to be a structure in and of itself. So we're going to say struct song colon, and then this is going to be also a hashable, like so. And then for our song, we need to say var ID will be equal to UUID. Our song, of course, will have a name. And then, of course, our song will also have a time. And for now, we're going to keep this as a string, but maybe in the future we can do it with a number, and then we convert that number into a string. We'll see. So we'll see how everything plays out. But for now, we say, go back to our album, and we say var songs will be equal to an array of our song. Like so. Okay, so now that we have that done, we need to start building out our interface and how things will look. Oh, and actually this is not equal, this is going to be a colon there. And that should fix that issue. Perfect. Okay, so first off, like I said, it's going to kind of look like this, right? So what we need to do is have a navigation view. And then we also need a scroll view. Now inside of this scroll view, we're also going to have another scroll view. So this first scroll view is going to be the one that, like, when you slide up, it moves everything up, including the album art and the songs and everything. But the other scroll view is going to be a horizontal scroll view, so that we can actually scroll in between each of the different albums. So with the second one here, we want to make sure that we have this one set to horizontal. Shows indicators will be equal to false, and then we have our content here. So for the content, we need to go ahead and say struct, and then this is going to be our album art. And then we're going to probably take all this stuff and move them into different files in the future. But for now, this is kind of how I like to just get things done, you know? And so this is going to be :view. So this is going to be our album art. So var body :some view. And then after this, we also need our song cell. Sounds all right to me. And then var body some view on there as well. For now, we'll just put an empty view right inside of both of those. So empty view and empty view. And we'll figure all of that stuff out in just a minute. Now, one thing with our album view, we need to make sure that we supply an album to it. So we're going to say var album :album. And then for our song, we want to make sure that we supply a song to it. So we're going to say var song :song. So for this first scroll view here, this is going to be all of our albums. So first off, let's create some dummy data real quick. So we're going to say var albums will be equal to an array of my album. And then I have ID, image, or actually with the ID, we don't need that because it's just going to randomly generate it anyway, but we say name, image, and songs here. So for the name here, I'm just gonna create something super amazing, album 1. And then for the image, I want to find images on Unsplash. If you guys have never heard of it, go to Unsplash. This place is amazing. It has amazing photos and great for inspiration, free to use, and very super high quality. So check it out. Let's go ahead. I already downloaded like 5 images here, so I'm going to take those downloads and put it inside of my project. So instead of my assets.xc assets here, I'm going to go over to my downloads. I'm going to take all those 5 images that I took, and we're going to plug that right into my assets.xc assets at the moment. Rename them one by 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there we have all of our album art. Now, something interesting to note here is they all have different aspect ratios, they all have different sizes, and so I'll show you exactly how we go around that and how we make it all look good. And so for this first image, it's going to be image 1. For the songs, this is of course going to be an array of songs. So I'll say array, song, and then we have name and time. So for the name here, I'll call this song 1. And then for the time, I'm going to, again, this is a string at the moment, so I'll just say 2:36 or something like that. And then let's take this song and let's basically copy and paste it a lot of times so that we have a good amount of information inside of our array. So we have song 1, song 2, song 3, song 4. Now we have a general layout of how an album is going to look. So I'm going to copy that, we're going to add a comma here, and then we're going to paste another album there. And I know this looks very messy at the moment, but we'll work it out. Okay, so something interesting to note is I copied and pasted an issue. You need to make sure that you have commas after each of these songs. So for our images, we need to make sure that we change the album name and image as well. And so I have 5 albums, 5 different images, and they each have 4 different songs. So this is just dummy data. This stuff is going to be thrown away as soon as we actually get stuff up to Firebase, but this is a good place to start. So inside of this first scroll view, what are we actually going to do? So this first scroll view is going to have all of our albums, right? And so with this, we need to create a for each statement. So basically this is going to iterate through all of this dummy information that we have and actually work with it a little bit. So with our albums here, we want to say for each for the data of our self.albums. And then for the ID here, we want to say /self. For the content, we're going to put inside of here our album art. And then provide in here our album. Now, what is our album going to be? Basically, it's iterating through all this information. So we need to say album in. So as it's sorting throughout each of these informations, it's going to create a new view for every album, and that's what this is referencing right here. That is the current album for this specific view. The reason I said that the hashable up here is important because if you didn't have that, it would completely break this /self here, and you would get issues and errors and other stuff like that, as you can see. So that's why you want to make sure that you have colon hashable, and that makes everything better. Now for the last part here, we have our album art. Now we also need the song cell. So in order to do this part, I'm actually going to stick all of this into a lazy H stack, or V stack, sorry. And then we put this inside of another for each statement. So what is this for each statement going to iterate through? Well, it's going to iterate through the songs inside of our current album. So we want to go ahead and say var current album. And then we're going to say this is equal, or actually colon, our album, and then make that a question mark. It's an optional, because we might not have a current album, but in reality it's always going to be our first album, just when we're starting. But this just allows for like errors and stuff like that. But now we're going to go through and actually go through the songs inside of our current album. So I'm going to say self.currentalbum.songs. Now it's going to add this question mark here, so this is of course an optional. So if we don't have any songs inside of our current album, or if something goes wrong, we want to fall back onto something. So this is going to be my self.albums.first. So if we don't have a current album, then we're going to revert to our self.albums.first.songs, as you can see. And then if neither of those work, we're just going to provide an array of songs here. So I'm going to take that array of songs and just pluck that right in here. I know that looks messy. It's going to look a lot cleaner in the future, trust me. But here we go. We go to the ID, we say /self, just like we did before. And then for the content here, we're going to go through and we're going to say song in. And so it's iterating through each of the songs, and it's providing us with the current song that we're doing with. And then we say song cell, open parentheses, and then we provide it with that song. And that should fix any of the issues, and things should work properly. All right, so now that we have that, we can now start designing our album art and our songs. All right, so for our album art, basically what it's going to be is in our image, and then some text on top with a blur. So in order to do this, we need to go ahead, and this is going to be a Z stack. Then we have our image, and then we're going to load up the image with the name of our album.name, or album.image, sorry. Then we want this to be resizable, and then we set the frame of this to maybe 170 by 200. Or no, that seems a little bit too big, but 150, 160, no, 170 by 200. Sticking with my guns. And then the alignment will be center. Okay, so instead of saying our content view inside of our previews, let's actually go to our album art and start previewing that. And let's feed it just a bland album here. Let's take that dummy information and put that right in there. And now we should be able to see our preview load up a little bit faster because it doesn't have to process as much. But there you have it. That's our album art, and that's how things look at the moment. I think that looks quite nice. Okay, so then with this, let's see how it looks for image 2. And as you can see, that image 2, it looks a little bit squished, so that does not look nice in my opinion. So in order to fix that, we say dot aspect ratio will be equal to dot fill. Perfect. Okay, so now with our Z stack, we want to say dot clipped, and that clips our image, but now it's properly sized. So if we switch this to image 1, image 3, 4, should all give the same result. All right, that looks great. Okay, so now another thing that I want to do is add a corner radius. So I'm going to say corner radius of 20. No, that seems way too big. Maybe not. Let's see. Let's see how that looks. And we get that. That looks quite nice to me. Okay. Then with this one, after the corner radius, you want to add a shadow of maybe 10. And then after all of this is said and done, I want to add some padding to the album art. So I'm going to say padding of 20. And that should give us a general idea of how things should look. Okay, so if we were to build and run that. Okay, so there we have it. That looks quite nice, but it's going in the wrong direction. So let's figure what's wrong with that. Okay, so we have the scroll view here, which is, it says it's horizontal. Oh, so what I did wrong is this scroll view is supposed to have a lazy H stack inside of it. That's right. And so it's scroll view, lazy H stack, and then for each. And that should fix that issue. So build around that again. Let's just make sure that works. And that looks quite a bit better in my opinion. Then another thing that I wanted to do is add some text on top of it, as well as a blur effect right behind the text. So in order to do this, I put this inside of a Z stack for a reason, right? So above our image, we're going to do another Z stack here, in which we're going to add some text. This is going to be my album, my album.name here. And as you can see, we have the text on there. Let's change the foreground color to white. And that should just change the text color in and of itself. And then I want to add a blur right behind that, right? So the way to do that is, I found this amazing Medium article. If you don't use Medium, I'm sure it's easy to find this somewhere else, but you just look up blur UI view representable, and then you can just take this, copy it, and it works anywhere. It's a native way of doing it in Swift, but it's just easier to copy and paste sometimes. So I'm going to go ahead and say new file. This one's going to be my blur effect. And then we just paste that right in there. So basically all this is a UI view representable of the blur effect that we actually have inside of UIKit. It's just now transferring that over to SwiftUI. They don't have something like native to SwiftUI quite yet, so this is just their workaround at the moment. But I think it looks quite nice anyway. So now behind it, our text here, we can go ahead and add our blur. Now the blur has a different style. Like you can do it, so it's a light blur or a, hang on. If we say blur style, and then we should be able to pick certain different styles. I think it's because we need to hit Command S on this one, on this page. And then we should be able to see the different stuff faster. Yep, there we go. Okay, so we have dark, extra light, light, prominent, and all of these different types of styles here. I'm gonna go for dark, because I think that just looks nice with the images that we picked. Okay, so I think we need to calm it down just a smidge. Oh, so I think one of the issues is we have the frame set here, but there's no frame set on the actual Z stack here. So if we were to set a frame here, let me just see how that would look. Now, as you can see, that blur is there. I just don't think it's loading in properly. I think that's what its main issue is. Yeah, okay. So yeah, the blur effect actually does get applied inside of the actual application, but here it looks gray. Duly noted. Okay, so another thing that I want to do is inside of the Z stack here, I'm going to set the frame, the height. Yeah, let's keep it at maybe 60, 70. And then the alignment will be center. Or maybe we can even say that the alignment, okay, yeah, with the Z stack up here, let's say the alignment is bottom. We want things to be carried to the bottom. And that should make it so that our content, so that like this text actually gets carried to the bottom here. Yep, and that looks perfect. Okay, build and run that real quick, and we should be able to see a perfect view of how our application should look. And there you have it. That is how our application kind of looks. I like the look of these albums. Okay, so now I want it so that when we click on one of these, we actually have the songs showing up. And so in order to do this, it's quite simple. Let's go ahead and take like a basic song, and then we want to load up our song cell inside of our preview now, so that we can start working with that. First off, it's going to have an H stack. Inside of this H stack, we're going to have exactly how we saw it on Dribble, right? It has kind of a CD on the left with the name and then the time. And so let's go ahead and try that. So we'll have a CD style thing. So the quickest and easy way that I can think about doing this is let's add a Z stack. Then we say circle, and then we'll set the frame of this circle to be, let's say 60 by 60, and then with our alignment as center. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, and then we say the foreground color will be equal to .blue. It seems fine by me. And then on top of this circle, we want a smaller circle. So we're going to take this, copy that, paste it, and then we're going to make it 20 by 20 as our width and height, and then we'll make the inner circle as .white. That rhymed. And now we have a nice little circle. Maybe the width and height are just a tad too big, maybe 50 by 50 actually. And that looks pretty good to me. Okay, so now that we have that on side of on the right side of this circle, we want to have our name. So I'm going to say text, and then this is going to have my song.name. I'm going to make this bold. And let's just see how that looks right now. That looks pretty good to me. Then after this, we have the spacer. Then we have text, and then this is going to be my song.time. And then after all of that, let's add some padding to our H stack. Let's make it like 20. And now we have some good padding. And it's simple as that. So that's basically what I wanted. That's basically it. And so when they click on the song, it's actually going to load up the music player view that we'll program tomorrow. So now that we have that, when I click on an album, I want to be able to set my current album. So I'm going to say .onTapGesture. We're going to do something. So for this one, it's going to be self.currentAlbum will be equal to my album. Let's build and run that real quick. And it says this is immutable, so all we need to do is say @state private var current album : album. Build and run that. And there we have it. So now we have songs 1, 2, 3, 4, la-di-da. I do want to add a name real quick. Hang on just 1 second before we get into things. So right outside of the scroll view here, I'm going to say navigation title, and then this is going to be, let's just say my band name, like that. And there we have it. That looks quite nice to me. As you can see, it takes a little bit of time loading these images. We need to work better with like compression and stuff like that, but for, you know, a demo, it works. And so we have my band name. Here are the different albums. As we click on a different album, it should load up all the different songs, but we can't really tell the difference because all the songs are the same. So now we have a ton of different song names. Let's build and run this, and let's just see and make sure that things are actually working the way they should. All right, and there we have it. So now as we go through our albums here, let me click on album 3. It changes all the songs at the bottom, and so on. And it looks quite nice. I like it. Anyway, that's it for today. Tomorrow we're going to actually get working on the music player view, and then hopefully we can get into Firebase and all that kind of stuff as soon as possible. But there you guys have it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Be sure to subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.